What's going on, everyone? My name is Under the Radar, and welcome to the WBE. This is going to be the draft analysis. We're going to be going over the team that will win us the championship. Kind of, because I made some transactions after the draft that I will 100% talk about in this video. But overall, I wanted to give you the idea that I was thinking of when I thought of this team, the idea that I was looking into whenever I was drafting this. And as you all know, whenever I'm drafting, I tend to draft around a theme. And if you are new here, welcome to the channel. My name is Kelly. You don't need to call me Under the Radar. My name is Kelly, and I strive to make the best Pokemon Draft League content out there. I do a lot of Draft League viabilities. I have custom backgrounds on my Wi-Fi battles for my draft leagues. You'll be seeing that in week 2 of this because I have already played week 1 at the time of recording this. So realistically, starting week 2, you guys are going to see, in my opinion, some of the prettiest live Wi-Fi battles out there. So I hope you guys decide to stick around and enjoy what you see. So as you all know, I try to draft around themes. I try to draft around a specific Pokemon and try to draft as well as I can to make that Pokemon shine in whichever way possible. In the past, I've done it around Lando, I've done it around Linoon, I've done it around Tapu Koko Halucha, I've done it around Rain, I've done it around a bunch of different things, but one Pokemon I've never, ever drafted around, and one Pokemon I've never tried to make shine is Zygarde. So, with the 6th pick overall, I went with my boy Zygarde. So what is the idea that I want for with this? Well, first off, it's a Sneck, so immediately I was like, you know what? I'm going to try to draft as many Snecks as I can. I'm going to try to get every single Sneck possible. And that was the main theme that I went for. On top of that, as I was looking through some of the Snake Pokemon, I was like, wow, some of these actually mesh really, really well with Zygarde, and they can help out a lot. So it kind of sort of worked out. So Zygarde, if you don't know what it does, it is one of the most potent setup sweepers in the game outside of Landorus and Celesteela. Having 1,000 arrows to have a hit that hits everything at least neutrally, and it has no immunities aside from Shedinja, it is unbelievably spammable. So having Banded 1,000 arrows, having Dragon Dance 1,000 arrows, Sub Coil, DD Coil, there's a bunch of different setup options. And then of course this Pokemon is extremely fat as well, so having just a general fat toxic, sub toxic option is also very, very viable with this Pokemon. So in order to make this Pokemon shine, what is it that I need? What do I need to make this Pokemon shine as much as possible? I need a way to take out fairies. I need a way to take out as many fairies as possible, because this thing doesn't get the best ways of taking out fairies. Ground EMZ is probably one of its best ways, and since it is Open Z move, I do have that possibility. But on top of that, I rely a lot on Iron Tail, which is kind of less than ideal. So it does get access to Corkscrew Crash through Iron Tail, but I would rather run like a leftovers setup set to keep me healthy while setting up. So because of that, I need a way to pressure fairies early on. And one really good way, in my opinion, to pressure fairies is actually with my 2nd pick, which was Serperior. Now, how does Serperior pressure fairies? Well, basically, what Serperior does is it forces in a lot of Pokemon that either A, Zygarde can beat in bulky steels, or bulky fairies. It can pretty much take out every single bulky ground on the entire planet. It can also pretty much take out every single bulky water on the entire planet. It is super, super good, along with having really good access to support moves with Taunt, Leech Seed, Glare. It's super, super good at being a really good stall breaker, which tends to be what fairies are. If you look at things like Clefable, Sylveon, things like that, you can pretty much break them down with a stall breaker as long as it's not like a Spec Sylveon or a Life Orb Magic Guard Clef. On top of that, this thing offers a bunch of really amazing things for the team that I didn't really expect it to offer, but after like remembering how good it is, because I haven't used this thing since very early Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, whenever its hidden ability got released. I haven't used it in a very long time, but it gave me a bunch of different things. It made it to where I don't have to worry about bulky waters with Zygarde, which is another really big aspect that Zygarde struggles to break, and I'm going to put struggles in quote. It struggles to break those. It really helps out with that bulky fairies, as I mentioned, and bulky grounds, which Zygarde actually... It's nice to have them weakened since I can't hit them for super effective damage with 1,000 arrows. So now that I have 2 snacks, there were 3 more that I had my eye on. 3 more. Unfortunately, I only ended up getting 1 more. So I'm kind of sort of only stuck with 3 snacks, and that's kind of unfortunate. But I'm going to try to make transactions later on in the draft to pick some up. So first thing that I wanted was a bulky water first and foremost. I think that in a league with 28 teams, 10 Pokemon per draft, things are going to be stretched very, 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 very slim. Really good electric types and really good grass types are going to be stretched very slim. And I have a pretty good answer to both of them. The electric type in Zygarde forces them to run HP Ice, and grass types in Superior, because Superior can tend to beat most other grass types. So I went with my Lodic, another Sneck, which is phenomenal. And this thing, it gives me the bulky water that I don't want to face, realistically. I always give a very good friend of mine, General Tarheel, a lot of crap for always drafting my Lodic. However, my Lodic is one of the best bulky water types in the game, in my opinion. You have Suicune, you have Milotic, and you have Toxapex are the top 3 bulky waters in Draft League format, in my personal opinion. There are some amazing ones out there as well, like Seismitoad, Swampert, Primarina is really, really good, but for a bulky perspective and being able to handle its own and be able to take out some of its checks, Milotic is one of the best one at doing that, with access to Mirror Coat, meaning that Pokemon can't just spam Thunderbolt against me, they can't just spam Psychics against me and hope for a Spadef drop to beat me. With access to Marvel Scale, meaning it can actually switch in on physical hits that it normally couldn't because it'll take a burn from Flame Orb and then just be super, super fat. This Pokemon really helps out a lot with switching into a lot of things that my team realistically doesn't want to. Very, very, very good Pokemon, and most importantly, it gives me a 3rd Pokemon with Coil, because it is, of course, another Sneck. So, moving forward in the draft, I want to make these 3 Pokemon shine. I want to make the Sneck core a core that people remember for a very long time, and in order to do that, if I want to make Superior shine, I need to take out bulky steels. I already have Zygarde for that, so I wanted to take a couple other things that would help out with that. First being Darmanitan. What Darmanitan does is it puts immediate pressure on my opponent forever. If you guys do not know, Darmanitan has the Sheer Force ability with Flare Blitz being boosted because it can burn your opponent, and having a base 95 speed and a base like 130 attack. It hits stupid hard with Flare Blitz. This thing can 2-hit KO bulky water types with Flare Blitz if it's like banded. Super, super, super amazing wall breaker, and it's really, really hard to switch in. Meaning that if somebody is bringing a bulky water type, it is going to have to be a dedicated switch in to Darmanitan, and it can't be a designated switch in to Zygarde. It'll be very difficult for the Pokemon to do both of them. Another thing this does is this takes out any form of bulky grass type that I don't want to handle with my Superior, mainly bulky grass and poison types. Things like Amoonguss come to mind, things like Mega Venusaur come to mind, things like Vileplume also come to mind. Superior doesn't really want to deal with those. It can with like hidden powers and stuff like that, but it doesn't want to because of the Sludge Bomb being super effective. So now I have a really good way of dealing with those really bulky grass types in Darmanitan. Another thing it offers me that I did not have on the team that I personally rely on heavily when I'm drafting is U-Turn. I rely on Volt Turn so much. There have been games in early Ultra Sun, Ultra Moon where I have literally clicked nothing but U-Turn and Volt Switch until everything was in range of a setup sweeper, particularly Rock Polish Lando T, and I set up and I won. So I literally clicked nothing. I had like Gligar, I had Darmanitan, I had I think a Galvantula, and I think I had a Decidueye. I think those are the ones I had, but I just literally Volt Turned, wearing everything down until I can set up and win. And that is the beauty of Volt Turn, and Darmanitan is a great key to that. It is a phenomenal U-turner. On top of that, it also helps out dealing with bulky fairies that, again, Zygarde doesn't really want to deal with, so that's really, really nice. So, moving on, we got Xurkitree next. So, what Xurkitree does for the team that I guess Xurkitree is kind of a Sneck. It's an electrical cord Sneck. if you squint really hard, it's kind of a snack. Maybe. So what Xurkitree did for me is it gave me another setup sweeper on top of Zygarde and Superior, and it gave me a really good way of breaking down bulky waters again in case Superior doesn't have the best matchup, in case I'm going up against an Amoonguss, in case I'm going up against a Vileplume. I have this Pokemon, which is absolutely phenomenal, and in a league where it's open Z moves, I definitely think that Xurkitree has a lot more viability than where it's closed Z moves or Z captains. So having this with Z Hypnosis to boost my speed by 1 stage, having access to Tail Glow, having a phenomenal special attack at base 183, I think. I off the top of my head, am I correct? Please tell me I'm correct. 173. I was so close. But it is basically a phenomenal wall breaker. It helps break down bulky grounds as well, because while they think they can switch on volt switches, this thing also does get Energy Ball. So the only ones it doesn't really want to break down are ground poison types in Nidoqueen, Nidoking, things of that nature, which Zygarde tends to handle pretty well. Ultimately, this was just one of the best electric types left on the board, and I felt that in a draft league where bulky waters are going to be very scarce, having a really good, not super fast, but hard-hitting electric type is super important. I'm the firm believer that cores aren't the make all be all. They're not the best thing in the entire world. As long as you have a team that works together really well and that can break for each other, you can win almost any game. One thing that this team is lacking right now, and it is lacking hard, is Stealth Rocks. I do not have a single Stealth Rocker on this team so far, and if you have watched my channel at all, if you know of me, if you have watched any competitive battler, you know that Stealth Rocks are at the utmost importance in almost any league, and I really need to look into that immediately, and I'm going to look into that with Mesprit. Mesprit is one of my favorite bulky psychic types on top of, well, it's right underneath Necrozma for favorite bulky psychic type. This thing is such a phenomenal steal in like tier 4 is what it's in this league. It's phenomenal. Stealth Rocks, U-Turn, Healing Wish. It gets access to Knockoff. It gets pretty good coverage in like Ice Beam, Thunderbolt. Doesn't get Flamethrower though. It gets Fire Punch. Super great Pokemon. One of my favorite moves in Draft League format is also Future Sight. And this thing having base 105 special attack, meaning that it has pretty hard-hitting future sights, which is really nice. And in a team where my opponent, like, they never really have a free switch into a dark type on this team, I don't really have much that allows dark types to switch in. Future sight is actually pretty spammable versus my opponent, but this thing is mainly, I've used it multiple times on the team. I've used it to great success. I've used it in multiple different ways. One of my favorite ways was, shout out to John, aka Pokemon, for this battle. I was playing John in P4G Season 1, and I literally brought Sunny Day, Healing Wish, Mesprit into Flame Charge, Mega Houndoom, and I won with it because I got Sunny Day up with my Mesprit, and I was able to just sweep through almost everything. Phenomenal game. It was absolutely amazing. I loved it to death, but this Pokemon, it has a lot of versatility, especially for a tier 4 Pokemon, and bulky psychic types are, in my opinion, one of the most important bulky Pokemon to have. Speaking of bulky psychic types, I do not have the best ways of breaking bulky psychic types, which is petrifying to me. I don't have a dark type, meaning things like Acid Armor, Calm Mind, Reuniclus are super viable versus me. Things like Iron Defense, Calm Mind, Necrozma with Rock Polish, and Mono Photon Geyser, super plausible versus me. So because of that, I need to get a dark type, and one of the best dark types that was still on the board that gave me a really unique move was actually Pangoro. So Pangoro, if you don't know, it gets this move called Parting Shot, which means that you switch out. It's just like a U-turn. Also, Mesprit gives me another U-turner, which is really good, with Xurkitree also having U-turn. So I have a pretty good Volt Turn core between Darmanitan, Mesprit, Xurkitree, and now Pangoro as well with Parting Shot. Switch out just like U-turn, but whenever you do it, you lower your opponent's attack and special attack, meaning it can give my Pokemon like Zygarde, Xurkitree, Superior a lot easier time to set up and potentially sweep through my opponent's team. On top of that, since it is open Z move, this gives me Z Parting Shot, which if you don't know what Z Parting Shot is, it is like Healing Wish. So let's say I set up turn 1 with Zygarde, I go down to 35 HP, I can Z Parting Shot with my Pangoro, my Zygarde goes all the way back up to full health, and I can set up one more time to potentially win the game. But this gives me a really hard-hitting knockoff. Actually, fun fact about Pangoro, with its 3 abilities in Scrappy, Iron Fist, and Mold Breaker, and its coverage, it can literally hit every single Pokemon in the entire game for super effective damage. There is not a single Pokemon it cannot hit for super effective damage. It's absolutely amazing. So, in my opinion, it's actually really slept on. It's really slept on because it's able to run perfect coverage for my opponent's team in some scenarios. So that's really cool about Pangoro. I really like this Pokemon. Now going into these next picks, so I picked these Pokemon knowing that there was a chance that I was going to drop them, because at this point in time we found out that there was going to be a grace period. 2 days after the draft we can make whatever transactions we wanted. So I was like, okay, I'm going to pick these Mons, and I'm going to see what the team needs and see how I can adjust it. And I also promised my buddy Drew, aka Mr. Talent, that I would draft a Mega for him and trade it to him for his Mega Aggron. So right now, Mega Aggron is locked on this team for whatever Mega I decide to pick up. So that's really cool. I have a really good switch into to Fairies. But either way, I picked up Combuskin next. Combuskin I picked up simply because Speed Pass is allowed, and Speed Pass is absolutely stupid. And the way I looked at it, I was like, okay, I can Speed Pass +2 speed into Xurkitree, which always gets a special attack boost with Beast Boost, and I can win super easily that way. But ultimately, I thought that that strategy was kind of sort of niche, and it might not have been the best, but I still went with it, and I don't regret the decision at all. I think it is still a phenomenal Pokemon, and it might be able to do some stuff for the team. Offensively, it's not going to be that great. It is pretty much there just to help out with Speed Pass into things like Xurkitree, Pangoro, Zygarde, Darmanitan, things like that. One other thing that I wanted from this team is I wanted Toxic Spikes. In my opinion, Toxic Spikes is an absolutely busted hazard. You switch your Pokemon in and they get poisoned for nothing. It's insane. So because of that, I went with another low tier Pokemon in Frogadier. Frogadier is one of my favorite Pokemon in Draft League format. I love these middle stage evolutions of starters. They offer so much for such a little package. Frogadier base 97 speed, so it's actually pretty fast. With Protean means that it actually hits pretty hard. Really good coverage. Gunk Shot, Low Kick, Grass Knot, Dark Pulse. Super good. And it gets access to Toxic Spikes. So I love Frogadier. It's something that I'm really glad is on the team. It's a very niche role that it fills, but it definitely does have the viability of potentially being a wall breaker or a cleaner on a given basis. So for the final pick, I did end up picking the Mega that I promised Mr. Talent, and that was Mega Audino. This gave me a Fairy, which it did help out with the team in case he decided not to go with it. I don't have a Steel type, so he did end up going with the trade. So I'm going to talk about the trades real quick, because me talking about Mega Audino doesn't really matter. I'd rather talk about the next two, the two Pokemon that I picked up instead. I dropped Mega Audino. Well, I didn't drop it. I traded it to Drew for Mega Aggron, giving me a Steel type, giving me a reliable Stealth Rocker, another really good wall. Milotic Mega Aggron is a phenomenal wall core that I've seen people use to great success in the past. And it also helps out with bulky Fairies all the time, meaning that I have that check with Zygarde. And then I ended up dropping Combuskin because I didn't have a Fairy type at that point in time. And another thing I didn't have on the team that I think is super important on any team that I draft is Wish support. So I dropped Combuskin for Wigglytuff. What Wigglytuff gives me is it gives me another Stealth Rocker. It gives me a Wish support mon with really fat base HP stats. And it's actually pretty strong too with base 85 special attack, so it's not setup fodder. And it is a Gen 1 normal type, meaning that it gets access to really good coverage. So that's really cool. So the entire draft for the entire season, well, so far, in case I make any transactions later on, is Mega Aggron, not Mega Audino, Zygarde, Milotic, Darmanitan, Mesprit, Wigglytuff, Superior, Xurkitree, Pangoro, and Frogadier. I hope you guys are excited for this season. I'm super excited. Week 1, we play Sacred. It is one hell of a game. I'm super excited for you guys to see it, and I know Sacred is too. We've been talking back and forth about it. But if you guys are excited for the team, if you like what you saw, if you like what you see on the channel, please leave a like down below for me. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. And I hope to see you guys around. And I hope you guys enjoy what we have to offer for the WBE season. And I'm coming for that championship belt. Leo, I know you're watching this. That championship belt will be mine. But guys, with that, I'm going to go ahead and get on out of here. Thank you all so much again for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.